Hi, this is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how to crochet the Poppyseed Twist Headband, which is a free pattern you'll find on mooglyblog.com. Let's take a closer look at what we need. Now, wait a minute. Did I say crochet? This is a knit pattern. The Poppyseed Twist Headband is one of those unique knit patterns that you'll find for free on mooglyblog.com. To make this pattern, I used 50 yards of Caron Simply Me, which is a bulky weight yarn. I also used 8mm knitting needles. Now, for this one, it's also handy to have a tape measure. We're working to length, not by number of rows. Now, because we are working to size, we don't need to worry about gauge. So if you're switching out yarns or you find that the 8mm needle doesn't work for you, you can use whatever size needles you like to use with the yarn you're using for this pattern. As written, it's about 4.5 inches wide with an adjustable fit. Again, we can make this any size. The fabric is so stretchy. We simply work to the length we need. So let's go ahead and get started with our Poppyseed Twist Headband. First, let's take a quick look at the finished headband. This is knit using the seed stitch, which provides lovely bit of texture and is a great way to practice your knits and purls. You can see that we work sideways here to length, so that is how we're able to make it to any size. You just stop when you've got the circumference that you need for the head you're making it for. Now, after we've done all our knitting, there is one seam that we do on the inside of the headband. We hook our layers together and sew them together. Sounds crazy, I know, but I will show you how that works here in our video. When we turn it right side out, we get this beautiful twist right at the front of our headband or at the back. You can wear it however you like. Let's go ahead and get started with our knitting. We begin our Poppyseed Twist Headband by casting on 15 stitches using whatever your favorite cast-on method is. For me, that's the long tail cast on. So you can see I've got my tail right here, and I've got my slip knot on my needle. So I'm simply going to separate the strands with my fingers like this, and then holding on to the loop right here, I'm going to put my finger in front of it a little bit, and then I'm going to scoop up this strand and pull it through. Then I scooch my finger in front of that loop and do it again. Notice how I pull my hand back. We scoop this strand, pull it through, and gently pull down. Scoop, scoop, pull through. Scoop, scoop, pull through. You'll notice how I always move my finger to in front of that loop. This is a great tip that I just recently actually learned from Patty Lyons, who is a very well-known and respected knitter. This helps loosen up your loops. If you're like me and you don't knit very often, you might find that your loops tend to be a little tight. Putting your finger right there in between them as you make them helps keep them a little bit looser and easier to work into. So simply keep casting on until you have a total of 15 stitches. So now I have moved the needle with the stitches on it to my left hand. I want to mention here, you can see I'm using a circular needle. Straight needles, obviously, with only 15 stitches will work just as well. So now I'm going to slip the first stitch knitwise. So I bring my stitches to the end of my needle, and I'm just going to put my first stitch onto my other needle like so. Then I am going to begin by knitting each remaining stitch to the end of the row. This is sort of a setup row. I like to actually knit my first row, no matter what pattern I'm using usually, just to give me a little bit of a firmer start. So I'm just going to insert my hook, yarn over, and pull through. Now, if you're a crocheter, typically you'll notice this is a yarn under, not a yarn over. One of the big differences for knitting. If you're a knitter, you probably already know how to do your knit stitches. So just knit all the way across the rest of the way here for row 1. So now I've finished row 1 and I'm ready to begin row 2. For row 2, we're going to finally begin our seed stitch pattern. Now, for me personally, I like to still begin by slipping the first stitch knitwise. So we're going to just slip that first stitch right off onto our other needle again. Then we begin our repeat. We're going to purl, then knit all the way across. So we begin by purling the next stitch, insert our needle into the front there, pull our yarn up and over, and pull it through. Then we want to knit the next stitch. Insert our hook knitwise, yarn over, and pull through. Then we switch back to purl. Then back to knit. And then back to purl again. And this will take us again all the way across to the end of our row. And now we have finished row 2. And row 2 is the row that we repeat to make the whole rest of the headband until we have the length we need. So let's do it one more time together here. Sort out my ends, make sure I'm working with the end attached to the skein and not the end that I've cut. Move our stitches up to the end of the needle. We slip the first one. And then we begin that same pattern again. We want to bring our yarn in front so we can purl. And then we go to the back with the yarn so we can knit the next one. And just continue that pattern all the way across. You'll notice, if you look at your past stitches, that I am, from this side, it looks like purling my knits and knitting my purls. And that's how we get that beautiful seed stitch design. So this one would be a purl. You can look at it. You can see how that's got the bar in front so it looks like a purl. But we're going to knit that loop now. And that will create our wonderful texture. As you can see, I've gotten a pretty good start on my Poppyseed Twist headband. I'm going to go ahead and stop here for demonstration purposes, but of course you'll want to go a lot longer. As a general rule of thumb, for a child, you'll want to work until it's about 16 inches, for a teen or small adult until it's about 17, for a medium adult 18, large adult 19, but you can always try it on as you go. Remember, this stitch should have a fairly decent amount of stretch, so you'll want to stop about 1 to 2 inches shorter than the head that you're going around. Once you've got the length desired, then it's time to bind off. For binding off, you can simply use your favorite method, however you like to do it. I like to do a very simple one. I'm going to again slip that first stitch and then knit the second stitch. Then, once I've got 2 needles on my right hand needle, 2 loops on my right hand needle, then I'm going to use my left hand needle to pull the furthest one back, up and over the second one, till I've got 1 loop left. Then I go back and knit the next stitch. There we are. And then pull that first loop up and over again. There we go. Let's do that a couple more times. Knit, pull that first loop up and over the newest one. There we go. So we're just going to continue to do that all the way across until 1 loop is left on your needles. Then you need to break your yarn, leaving a 12-inch tail, which we'll use to sew it together and finish off our headband. So as you can see, I've worked down to 1 loop left on my needles. So I'm going to cut the yarn, leaving a 12-inch tail. This is approximate, although if you want to pull out your tape measure again, you can. Once we're down to that loop and we've cut our yarn, I like to go ahead and just send that end right through the loop to secure it. There we go. Then we can set aside our needles and break out our yarn needle. And I'm going to go ahead and put that cut end here on my needle. Now, if you forgot to cut a long end for sewing, but you left a long end at the beginning, you can use that one instead. It doesn't really matter which end you use. So what we're going to do, when you have the full length that you want for your headband, we want to come to the 2 narrow ends here of our rectangle, and we're going to form a C with them. Now, there's not a right or wrong side for this, so don't worry about that. We're just going to pull our ends together and make these 2 C's. Then we're going to sandwich them together. Do you see how they're making C's like my hands just made? Like that. Put 1 layer on top, about halfway. There we go. And then you can sandwich that one on top. So the 2 C's have interlocked, just like this is what we want to do with the 2 ends of our headband. And you can zhuzh it a little bit, play with it, get it nicely so that it's, just halfway across here, the row. And get it all nicely lined up. Now, yours will be a lot longer, so you'll have a little bit more length here to work with, and that'll make it a lot easier. Once it's all mushed up, though, you can see it's kind of hard to see the different layers. We've got our 4 layers right there. So if you'd like, this is a place where you could break out a crochet stitch marker, which are open stitch markers that you can use to hold things together. You can, of course, also use pins or other tools that you might use to hold your seams together. Or you can be very brave, like I'm about to do, and simply use your fingers. So I've got my needle already on my yarn here. That's not the end we want. We'll push that one out of the way. Get it all straightened out here. There we go. And now what I want to do is I want to send this yarn needle through all 4 of those layers. So I'm going to start with the one I'm on and just go straight back. And if I can kind of tease up each layer as I go, I can see that I'm going through all of them. And if you miss one of the layers on a stitch, that's okay. We'll catch it on the next one. Pull that on through, and I'm just going to come back the same direction. And I really want to do my best, like I say, to make sure I pick up the top of the stitch or the bottom of the stitch from each layer. So as you go, you can double check and make sure, am I catching everything in there? Oh, I haven't caught that layer yet. Let's get that in there. Make sure we catch that one with the next one. Make sure we get through there. And you can just keep sewing back and forth. This part isn't going to show. You're not going to see the sewn seam, so you don't have to worry about making it perfect or pretty. The main thing is just to go through all those layers all the way across, back and forth, back and forth. Just take your time. When you get to the end, you can go back and go across for an even more secure seam. But after you've gone back and forth a few times, then, and you make sure you've gone through all those layers, you can go ahead and weave in your ends. After you've woven in your ends, then you can turn the whole thing right side out. This was the wrong side, so we're going to turn it right side out now. There we are. And you should be able to see, even on our little guy here, we've got that really great looking twist. The twist isn't put into the fabric itself, it's sewn in. You can see it a little bit easier, I think, on this full-size version. If I hold it out here, you can see this is the 4 layers that I seamed through, and then we pop it right side out, and we've got a beautiful twist in our Poppyseed Twist Headband. And that's how to knit the Poppyseed Twist Headband. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.